Hey friends, welcome to Sabbath School Daily, where we have been studying from this lesson right here, Ephesians. This week we've studied from lesson number 6, which has the title, The Mystery of the Gospel, and today's Final Thought Friday, where we come together, sum up the week's lesson, and prepare for the lesson to come. Today's lesson provided us a quote that perfectly sums up our week's lesson, everything that we've talked about. And it comes from the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald from October 1st, 1889, and this is what it says. How can we harmonize our dwarfed spiritual condition with the presentation of our text in Ephesians 3:14 through 19, that describes the fullness of the knowledge it is our privilege to possess? How can heaven look upon us who have had every spiritual and temporal advantage that we might grow in grace when we have not improved our opportunities? The apostle did not write these words to tantalize us, to deceive us, or to raise our expectations only to have them disappointed in our experience. He wrote these words to show us what we may and must be if we would be heirs of the kingdom of God. How can we be laborers together with God if we have a dwarfed experience? We have a knowledge of the Christian's privilege and should seek for that deep spiritual understanding in the things of God that the Lord has desired us to have. Do we really believe in the Bible? Do we really believe that we may attain the knowledge of God that is presented before us in this text? Do we believe every word that proceedeth from the mouth of God? Do we believe the words that have been spoken by the prophets and apostles by Jesus Christ, who is the author and the light of all blessings, and in whom dwelleth all richness and fullness? Do we really believe in God and in his Son? You know, friends, it's really easy in the Christian life to take things for granted. You know, I'm a pastor. I was born and raised basically as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. I am surrounded by religion. My father's a pastor, my uncle's a pastor, my cousin's a pastor, my wife's father is a pastor, my father-in-law, my sister's father-in-law is a pastor. I'm a third generation Adventist on my mom's side, a second on my dad's side. My wife is a fourth generation. I'm just telling you these things because this is all that I've known for all my life. And I'm sure that many of you can relate to that, perhaps not in the same circumstances, but you can relate to the reality that sometimes we become blinded by the light. We hear about these things, we hear sermons, we hear songs, we go to church, we read the lesson, we read the Bible, we read spiritual books, we sing hymns, we know all these things, and yet it seems like sometimes this doesn't affect the day-to-day of our life. It seems as though we just go through the motions, and sometimes we worry more about the church of God than the God of the church. That cannot be life. That is living a dwarfed experience with God. Because the God of the Bible, the God that was presented to us throughout this week's lesson, is not the God that remains in the comfort zone of life, but he is out there, outside the comfort zone. And that's where he is waiting for us to join him in the beautiful ministry of the presentation of the gospel in these last days to a world that is dying, to a world that is consuming itself in horror, in evil, and in filth. We are called to be peace bearers, peacemakers. We're called to be people who bring hope, who bring the knowledge of forgiveness and the knowledge of an everlasting life with God in heaven. We know that this right here, this is just an illusion, friends. This is a vacation gone wrong. And yet sometimes we get caught in the bog that is the day-to-day. My invitation to you is to allow God to work in you to the point where he helps you, he makes you, he transforms you into a farmer, right? Going out into the fields, a laborer going out into the fields of the world. That doesn't mean that you're not going to trip up and fall. Sometimes that happens to all of us, right? Preaching to the choir here. However, the enemy does not beat us. He does not win when we fall down. He wins when he convinces us not to get back up. Allow the Lord to pick you up every time, shake the dust off, and go back into the field. May God bless you. I hope you had a really beautiful lesson, a brilliant lesson this week. I know that this was an exquisite lesson to study for myself. Also, please remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to our videos. We release one every day, and I hope to see you in here tomorrow for another Sabbath School Daily.